There is Jorge Luis Gonzales, tremendous Cuban amateur. We'll tell you more about that later, making his way as a professional. And there is David Graves up here from Dallas, Texas, with not an imposing record. 4 draws on his record at an early stage in his career, which is amazing. And he is hoping to create something of an upset against Gonzales.
Right away, you can see the size difference here is just tremendous.
Just a little bit, yes. There's the knockout ratio. And you can see Gonzales has been perfect as a pro. And David Graves is, in fact, a cruiserweight. He told us that. He said, I am a cruiserweight, but I'm taking this fight to see what I can do against a heavyweight.
Well, he's fought a couple of heavyweights. He fought Michael Bent in his last fight. He lost a decision to Bent, who's a pretty good young heavyweight. So it's not a foregone conclusion here that Gonzales will knock out David Graves. Apparently, he's got some staying power.
And if you saw Jorge Luis Gonzales here on ESPN in the recent match, which you may very well have, you got to look at him and say, looks a little thinner. Yes, he is 20 pounds thinner than when we last saw him. He has been getting himself in much better condition.
Now, the first time I saw him was in Atlanta on the Cooper Holyfield undercard last November. He fought a guy named Mark George, who was even smaller than David Graves. And Gonzales just looked awful. I have to tell you, he was about 245 pounds, and he really could not carry the weight.
Well, he took a pounding from us last time out. I have to say candidly, try not to be overly critical, but he didn't look good against Michael Gant. Michael Gans, I'm sorry. And it just wasn't a sterling performance. We'll see if he can do better.
Well, you know, there's 2 ways to be critical about a fighter, too. I mean, Gonzales obviously is talented. He's already landed some really good left hooks to the body and 1 right hand. But when a fighter with that much talent comes in and obviously has not trained, that's when he's open for criticism.
And that right hand already hurt David Graves. Graves is landing, but he's not having much of an impact.
Well, he is giving away 29 pounds here, and as you can see, the 199 pounds he is carrying is not rock solid. His best weight is probably between 175 and 185.
Which would actually make him just
sort of in between or a small cruiserweight.
Yeah. Minute left to go here in round 1. Our first match of the evening. Al Bernstein along with Wally Matthews. Glad you joined us. It's an 8-round heavyweight tiff. I never use that word, tiff.
That's a good word, though, every so often. Overused, I think it can be a problem. But I think used judiciously, it's okay.
Me overuse a cliche? Don't be silly.
Between the 2 of us.
Gonzales going downstairs with the right hand and missing again. And now a little movement being given to him by David Graves.
Probably a very good idea. Actually, David Graves told us earlier today that he was going to try and stay close to Gonzales, which is not easy when you're fighting a 6'7" fighter with a long jab but a big left hook by Graves.
You know, we saw Mike Gans hit Gonzales with numerous left hooks. And, of course, we don't need to tell you where that a more powerful fighter, Gonzales, might have a problem. But, hey, guess what? We got through the first round. Stay with us. We peek into round 2 as Jorge Luis Gonzales comes out against David Graves. And Wally, in round 1, there is one thing. Graves was able to get that left hook in from time to time.
Yes, he was. And even though he's working from pretty long distance, which tells you that Gonzales has a tendency to keep his head straight up. You know, that fight that I alluded to before in November, November against Mark George that Gonzales fought in Atlanta, he was actually decked with a right hand in the first round.
Gonzales was sometime.
Yes, he was.
Look at the punches.
Well, obviously a clear edge there for Gonzales. 33-12 landed, but I'll tell you, the most impressive one to me was the left hook that Graves landed.
He got one in there.
Gonzales has a good jab, but I don't like the way he keeps his left hand dangling down around his waist.
It is really low. I mean, it is about as low as you can possibly hold it. And he has some good hands in his corner. Richie Sandoval and Eddie Mustafa Muhammad trying to work with him and get him not only in good shape, but also try and create the right pro style for him.
Well, knowing Eddie Mustafa Muhammad, the way he fought and the way he trains his fighters, I know he does not like that at all.
We talked about Gonzales' excellent amateur career. He won both the 1983 and 1987 Pan Am heavyweight gold medals. And along the way, he has never lost to an American, by the way, in competition. He's beaten the likes of Riddick Bowe, Tyrell Biggs.
Yes, he's also beaten Lennox Lewis, who was the gold medal winner in 1988. He was hurt very badly by the Cuban boycotts of 1984 and 1988, because he certainly would have been a medal candidate in both those years.
Well, there's Graves doubling with the left hook, and Gonzales kind of laying against the ropes. Is he waiting the counterpunch?
This is a strange tendency that Gonzales has shown us in other fights as well. Certain times in the fight, he just goes passive like this.
We saw it against Mike Gans, that's for sure, and it was part of the reason why we were a little critical of Gonzales. We're in round 2, under a minute left to go. It's scheduled for 8. Mike Gans, as I mentioned, when he fought Gonzales, was able to really crank up some big left hooks, and that's what Graves is trying to do now. That one missed.
The thing that strikes me about Gonzales, Al, is that the Cuban amateurs are all very, very well schooled and disciplined. And you rarely see them fight this way, and they usually fight a full 3 minutes of each round. And I'm really surprised that Gonzales doesn't show a little bit better fundamental skill.
Well, as Gonzales chases and Graves tries to cover up and get in a few of his own left hooks, we will call a timeout at the end of round 2. We'll be back with 3.
And here we see the problem for David Graves. You know, he can get over those low hands of Gonzales, but the reach disadvantage is just a little bit too much for him to overcome. He just gets the end of his glove on the head of Jorge Gonzales.
We head into round 3. It is scheduled for 8. Jorge Gonzales in the red, the former Cuban amateur heavyweight, against David Graves, who comes in here from Dallas, Texas, with the unimposing record of 5-4-4. Gonzales is 8-0 as a pro. Jabs.
And we can see that Gonzales has a good jab and has used it quite a bit here, 82 times in 2 rounds. His percentage of landing it has been pretty good too, but after he lets it go, he drops it straight down, and a fighter with a good counter right hand is going to make him pay for that.
You know, Jorge Gonzales in the first 2 rounds of this fight is landing about 50% of his punches, period. He's winning both these rounds. Why am I not sitting here being impressed with him?
The reason that I went through my head is because, first of all, he hasn't really done much to discourage David Graves, who's much smaller, far less skilled, but still keeps coming after him, so he's obviously not being hurt that badly.
And I guess when you contrast it to what we normally see up-and-coming young heavyweights do, whether they're great or end up being terrific, Mike Tyson would come out like a buzzsaw. He was great. Bruce Seldon, even though he hasn't been great since, came out like a buzzsaw. Tommy Morrison came out like a buzzsaw. I could name, 20 more as you could. That's not what Gonzales, he doesn't seem to want to impress people.
Right, he doesn't seem to fight with a tremendous amount of hunger, which is not something that you expect from a young heavyweight, knowing that there's a pot of gold out there for a guy his size that makes it to the top.
But say that as we may, he's certainly winning and dominating against Graves. But he's landing right hands that are not knocking this cruiserweight fella out.
No, they're not. But they are drawing some blood from the lower lip, which is what I was going to say before. He's drawn some blood, but he really hasn't been able to hurt Graves.
Graves standing straight up, not bending at the waist or getting inside like he wants to. But Jorge Gonzales has nailed him with some of his best shots. Graves has not gone anywhere. Good jabs by Gonzales.
And it's not like Graves is doing anything unusual that would make it difficult here for Jorge Gonzales. He's standing right in front of him. He's trying to punch from long range, which is not what somebody with that short a reach really would want to do against a Gonzales. And still, he's here.
Under a half-minute left in the round. Gonzales goes to work again after Graves had landed a few punches in combination a moment ago. It's another Gonzales round, but clubbing right hand by Graves.
That landed in a spot that most fighters do not like to get hit, as if there's a good place to get hit, but right behind the ear.
So we wind down in round 3, and Gonzales is winning, but Graves is still there. Or maybe just 60 would do, huh?
I was a little disappointed to find out he did not know what year Roger Maris hit the 61 homers.
I saw that. It made me feel old, Wally, that I know that, and he doesn't.
Me too.
All right. Okay. We are into round 4. Jorge Gonzales in the red, and in the black, it is David Graves. Gonzales has pretty much dominated this match, but Graves, who is by all rights a cruiserweight in against the heavyweight, has shown some grit. Gonzales continues to use the jab. They clash heads there.
I just have the overwhelming feeling that if Gonzales went all out, started to let both hands go, he could end the fight, and I just don't understand what's holding him back.
That's a good point you're making, and I think, as I said earlier, that's probably what we come to expect from young heavyweights trying to make their way up. You expect them to do that. They're almost mandated to do that. They're supposed to knock these people out in 2 or 3 rounds.
Well, yeah, it's not enough just to win in boxing. We all know that, right? I mean, it's the way you win. In fact, you know, Mike McCallum is a case in point. He maybe has not gotten the recognition that he deserves because he's not that kind of a fighter. He's a terrific technician. But heavyweights, you know, I mean, with the exception of Muhammad Ali, there are no technicians. You go out there and you fight.
In general, yeah. There are some that have skills, but you have to go out when you're young. You've got to go knock people out and make yourself look impressive.
People do not pay to see heavyweight technicians, as a rule.
Yeah, generally that is true. And as we get past the halfway point here in round 4, yeah, we're tattooing Jorge Gonzales a little bit. Of course, we did it the last time he fought.
Well, we're not tattooing him any worse than David Graves is.
That's true. But he is landing. Gonzales landing the good jab. And there's the right. The interesting thing to me is that those big shots by Gonzales are not hurting Graves more than they are. And David Graves shows not that great a fear. He is throwing his shots. And let's say this now.
Okay.
Give David Graves a little bit of credit.
Absolutely.
You know, fighting a much bigger man, outmanned, outgunned, he is trying.
Yes, which he told us he would at the weigh-in this morning. And to be honest with you, I was a little skeptical because, you know, I looked at the size difference and I said, well, yeah, you know, it's easy to say that now, but let's see what he does when he gets in the ring. Right there, another big right hand.
And I don't know that he's hurting Gonzales, but he is getting some shots in. This is very similar to the Gans fight, although Michael Gans had a little more success even against Gonzales.
I just find Gonzales, in a way, a little frustrating to watch. I actually find myself wanting to say, keep punching.
Well, we'll see if he does that in round 5. We'll be back. We'll go away. Jorge Gonzales certainly winning, handling his assignment here tonight. And let's see how much he's winning by. Yes.
Well, I've given him every round, right, in spite of everything I've said here. I think that he's won every round, but I think David Graves has won over the crowd. I mean, every time he lands a punch, they are behind him here.
Well, he is the underdog, and crowds will go for the underdog, and Gonzales has done scant little to get them excited. See, and now we're back to what he did against Michael Gans, the showboating when it's not doing anything. And they said today, didn't they, that he did it because he was tired. And so he would do things like that.
I think he's clearly tired.
And I'll tell you what, if he gets too wild here against Graves, he's going to get hit with something. Now he's yelling at Graves. I don't know what that will accomplish. Good jab by Gonzales.
This is just not a very good showing. I'm sorry. I mean, Gonzales has to show us what he can do with his 2 hands, not, you know, the comedy routine.
This is, in fact, very much a repeat of what we saw against Mike Gans. And Gans, at least, was, now look at that. You know what? That's not very good. That's not very good conduct for a guy that wants to be heavyweight champion, to get into that posture and look like he's going to throw a left hook that comes from I don't exactly know where.
Yeah.
Hey, you know who's got it easy in this fight, though? Punch Profile, Bob Canopio and Logan Hobson. And I wouldn't say easy, but I'll tell you what, at least their fingers are not going to be
I'm so happy for them.
down.
I think Logan's getting a manicure during this fight.
It's very possible. I don't know. Half a minute left to go in round 5. And we're joking a little bit, but it is a performance by Gonzales that is not what he wanted.
You know, and we've seen Sugar Ray Leonard showboat a little bit and clown a little bit in the ring, but he earned that through years and years of great performances. I don't think Gonzales has in 8 fights.
Well, also he did it at a time when he was frustrating his opponent and was doing something in addition to it. That'll do it. And for Jorge Gonzales, I think frustration on his part, and that man Eddie Mustafa Muhammad, I don't think he could be pleased with what has happened here.
No, I'm sure he is not. And we know David Graves isn't.
Miguel Diaz, Richie Sandoval.
Esto ya está. La boca está cerrada.
You know, part of the problem is there's a language barrier in the corner. Eddie can't give directions directly to Gonzales because he speaks very, very little English.
No problem, champion. No problem. Come on, champ. No problem.
And Miguel Diaz speaking Spanish to him.
No problem. Six.
You know, I got to tell you something. In that corner, you have Eddie Mustafa Muhammad. We're into round 6, who just led Iran Barkley to a major victory against Tommy Hearns. Richie Sandoval, who has done one of the best training jobs with Scotty Olsen I have seen ever, and Miguel Diaz, who we have said many, many times is a superb trainer. And you know what? That's not a good corner. With 3 great guys in there, given Gonzales' attitude, 2 of the 3 do speak Spanish, so communication could come there. I'm not going to blame those 3 guys because I've seen them do great work. So guess who I'm blaming?
Well,
round 6.
I didn't get the feeling like he was listening at all.
He didn't
I think
care.
he did more talking than he did listening.
No. Well, we're into round 6, and how do we get on this soapbox? It's a good thing we're not talking about foreign policy. And don't get on Murphy Brown. Do me a favor, okay? God damn.
I will not touch that issue.
And meanwhile, Jorge Gonzales is being silly in the ring, and David Graves doesn't quite have the skill level to take advantage of it.
You know, I don't want to sound self-righteous, but this offends me a little bit because David Graves is giving a terrific effort, you know, for considering what he has.
That's right.
And Gonzales is basically making fun of him and not making a fight out of it.
And David Graves is tired enough now that he's having a real hard time taking advantage at all of what Gonzales is offering. Now, David Graves was supposed to fight Al Cole, who is top cruiserweight contender. That's what he was training for, and then when they offered this fight, he took it.
I think that would have been a pretty good fight.
Yes, he would have been competitive against Al Coles, and I think as a cruiserweight, you can see David Graves is not totally without skills.
No, he's just in, you know, over his weight class, obviously. Maybe not even over his skill level, but the size is just too much.
Exactly. A left hook gets there, and see, Gonzales must be too tired to punch, so he's just posturing and doing all that stuff. We're in round 6, and if you joined us late, you missed some weird stuff from Jorge Gonzales. But coming up, have no fear. We've got Mike McCallum, who is about as dedicated to this craft as Gonzales isn't, taking on Furman Chirino.
I think these 2 gentlemen are what the expression diametrically opposed means.
Yeah, that's
Gonzales
true.
and McCallum.
This is a fact. Half a minute left to go here in round 6. Heavyweights, Gonzales in the red and David Graves in the black. Odd maneuver by Gonzales as he tries a left uppercut from very far back.
Let me try this theory out in 5 seconds. He's got 8 straight knockouts. Perhaps he felt by round 4 that he can't stop this guy, and he's become frustrated and has stopped trying.
Well put and concise. We'll be back for round 7. I hope you will.
You know, we should make clear that the criticism of Gonzales is not personal. I mean, we sat with him this morning, and he's, you know, a nice gentleman, pleasant enough, but, you know, there comes a time when you have to perform.
Yeah, and as you said, maybe the word being offended is strong, but in the case of the sport, I think it's the fact that you want to see most boxers, 98 to 99% of the boxers we see give a terrific effort, are in very good shape, and come here with a very serious intention to win and perform well.
Well, let me clarify my use of the word offended. Okay? I don't think that any athlete in a competitive situation should be embarrassed by it.
Yeah, and I don't think it was too strong a word to use. I'm just saying it's, you know, in this case, probably justified. Under a minute left to go in round 7. A round in which, I'll tell you what, I think David Graves might be winning his first round of the fight.
Just on sheer activity. Absolutely. And he did land a few punches here against the ropes right above us.
And a couple body shots were getting in. I wonder what would have happened had he been fighting this fight, which he talked to us about fighting on the inside from the whole beginning of the fight, working the body of Gonzales.
Well, you know, let's take into account human nature. When you get in there with a guy who's 6 inches taller than you and 30 pounds heavier, it takes a little while before you feel comfortable enough to do this. He does look imposing.
Oh, yeah. And he does obviously hit with some power. Interestingly, Graves just missing with that left hook. Graves had been knocked out in 1990 by Vincent Bulwer, who was really a cruiserweight, maybe a super middleweight if you want to get down to it, or light heavyweight. But it doesn't look like Gonzales is going to do it. Look at that. Back at Bally's here in Las Vegas, and look who's here. Hey, you know that guy.
Sure, he's a pretty good coach, wasn't he? Maybe they ought to add him to Gonzales' corner.
I think he should start an announcing career. I really do. John Madden here, big fight fan. John was here in Las Vegas many times for the big matches. Great guy.
I'd love to hear what he would have to say about this fight.
His sound effects alone would be good. He'd certainly be using a telestrator. We're into round 8. It is the final round. I hear a sigh of relief across America. Jorge Gonzales in the red trunks. David Graves in the black. Gonzales undefeated at 8-0 with 8 KOs. If, in fact, Graves goes the distance with him, it will be the first time anyone has done so as a pro.
Well, right now, Gonzales does not seem very intent in trying to keep that record intact.
Go over there, Jorge. Both wrists.
Some repairs to the gloves of David Graves. How good a cruiserweight could David Graves be, Wally? It's hard to tell against fighting such a big man, but
I think 10 pounds lighter could not help but improve his condition. He's very, very aggressive. I think he hits with a little bit of kick because I know he got Gonzales' attention, at least with that left hook in the first round. Then again, if he fought a cruiserweight, nobody would know who he was.
Get back over the corner.
That's a problem. It really is, because it's kind of a dead-end weight class.
It is, although I think with some people going into it now, Orland Norris coming down, some other people getting a little more exposure. You're not going to make the kind of money you make as a heavyweight, but
I think we see more and more small heavyweights who could be cruiserweights putting on that extra 10 pounds because they don't want to get lost in the anonymity of that division.
Yeah, that's true. Well, he took a step up tonight, did David Graves, trying to handle Jorge Gonzales, and he has gone the distance, it looks like, so far. And in addition has landed his share of punches along the way.
Now, this I don't understand. It's the second time Gonzales did that, where Graves buried his head on his chest, threw a couple of punches to the body, which seemed to be legal punches, and he looked at the referee. Gonzales did, as if to say, break this up. What's happening?
I think he was claiming he was butted to the stomach.
Well, he might have a cutting problem there, and that could be serious.
Don't laugh. We did a fight in Italy here on Top Rank Boxing where one fighter did butt the other fighter to the stomach, got him right in the solar plexus. He went down. They called it a knockout. True story, true story.
Oh, I'd love to see that happen right now.
Halfway through round 8, the final round. Gonzales in the red, Graves in the black. Gonzales now looking for a knockout, yelling at David Graves, so Graves yells back at him. I know Gonzales said, "Why didn't you stay there and let me hit you with that right hand?"
How dare you not cooperate?
Remember our main event still to come. Mike McCallum, Herman Chirino. And you'll also get a look at a young welterweight who's making lots of noise, Skipper Kelp. That will be prior to that event.
Gonzales does not like to fight inside at all, Al. Whenever they get inside like that, he constantly looks for a break.
Under a minute left to go in this bout.
Stop.
Some movement from Graves as he seems a little content now to say, well, I'm going to go the 8 rounds.
I think Gonzales is feeling the same way right now.
Now, to say those are unorthodox punches is just the understatement of the decade. What is the point of that? Jorge Gonzales hitting him right on the back and the back of the head. Side headlock and a right to the body. I could be a wrestling announcer if I do this long enough. This one is over. And I mean that. And Jorge Gonzales, as if to punctuate what this fight was all about, missed with a right hand while David Graves was walking away and had his hands down. So that tells you about this bout.
His back turned to him.
And so it went the full 8. There's no doubt, I'm sure, that Jorge Gonzales will win the match. We trashed him, yes. We were difficult. to him in terms of our commentary. We were the last time. And again, it is nothing personal. He's not improving, Wally. In fact, he was much better as an amateur.
He was much better
Infinitely
as an amateur. Don't forget, that 3-round distance psychologically could make a big difference with him. He might be conserving energy. He's had problems with conditioning. This is probably the best shape we've ever seen him in. And he's still, he's running out of gas.
That is a scary thought.
Yeah.
And, the reason I think that, people will say, my God, give the guy a break. But he was a terrific amateur.
Right.
I mean, he beat the likes of Riddick Bowe and the rest
right.
and Lennox Lewis when he was an amateur. So he should be better than this. Well, maybe he will be. But in any case, he'll get a win here tonight. And in a moment or two, we should get the official results from Michael Buffer. In fact, no, we're not quite sure. He's going to check the scorecards again.
But I think you hit on the key point right there. If Gonzales was a hopeless case and had no talent, we couldn't sit here and say the things that we've said tonight.
No, it's true.
But I mean, this is a fighter who should be much better than he is and might someday be.
Okay, here's Michael Buffer with the decision.
Ladies and gentlemen, here at Bally's, we go to the scorecards. Dick Houck scores the bout 77-75. Hal Miller has it 78-74, and Dave Moretti scores it 78-74 for the winner by unanimous decision, Jorge Luis Gonzales.
And so, a little closer than we thought, Jorge Luis Gonzales will be back with a lot more boxing. Don't go away.